The enemy of my enemy is my friend, which is my turbo. Does that make sense? Alright, so this video is based upon my thread in WRX STI.com called Combating Heatsoak. And in that thread I try to improve the I guess the heat soak resistance in an EJ25 engine. You guys saw that first thing I did was to insulate this guy right here, because it's the first place that air makes contact with before entering the engine. So I'm gonna try to pop this off. I already got it temp removed to show you guys what I've done to this in order for air to be cooler entering the engine. So I wrapped it with this DEI, Design Engineering, I forget what the I stand for, but it's a DEI, some kind of heat shield or sound insulation. It's made of aluminum and there's some kind of fiber packing right behind it. And it's also adhesive and it forms well to whatever surface you put it on. And in between I put some high temp silicone sealant in here, so it closes the gaps, makes it look nice, kind of looks like aircraft. So yeah, that's that. So this actually helps coming in with air coming in with a cool surface. I've touched it before prior to this and it's really hot, so adding this keeps the heat here and not on the plastic, and all here is really cool. And then I have this Cobb SF airbox. Alright, so there's a lot of arguments of which intake is better, you know, because some guys have AEM intakes and Cobb. I mean, it doesn't matter. They both perform within like maybe a couple horsepower difference. So I just chose this because it was the first one to work with Cobb's off-the-shelf maps, which now I have a Pro Tune, so it doesn't matter. Not sure if you guys can see, but there's a red filter in there. You're thinking Cobb doesn't send a red filter with their SF intake, because that's an AM filter. And I also have a separate thread for that. Click the link below. But this Cobb SF airbox is based upon my Kydex box that I made a while back. And Cobb took note of it, and I guess they borrowed borrowed my design to make this airbox. My Kydex box is right here. Well, not Kydex box, but the material is here. Sorry, I got rid of the box. I don't know why, but this is what I use. 1/8. Come on, focus, man. 1/8 inch thick. You can get it from Amazon. I later bought 1/4 inch thick, but I never had time to make one. But it's a 12 by 24 inch piece, and you can easily bend it with a heat gun and form the shape, and then cut it with whatever tool of choice to form it. But anyway, going back to here, so my box was the idea behind this new airbox for 2015. Basically, it blocks engine heat from entering this way, and also the old SF airbox was a huge hole right here, and so Cobb did that. They copied my design and blocked this air right here. I actually had it, I had this whole panel all the way up here, but Cobb managed to, I guess, use their old stamping, I guess, whatever you call it, and just added this part right here to seal. But as far as the seal, speaking of which, I use my own again. Cobb offers their thin one like this, but that wasn't really enough, so I used this big one. I split it at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's split right there, so it'll seal all the way around. And you guys can see it seals much better than before. Filter fits in there really good, and yeah, there's not much change in the AFRs and whatnot. I also added a PTP turbo blanket, the lava version, and then put on a Perrin heat shield, because that's the only one that fits down here. And I gotta clean that thing. So that way the top mount intercooler is not as hot. I mean, it does get hot when you're sitting. I mean, whenever you're sitting with this top mount setup, anytime, you'll get heat soak. I mean, this engine is known for heat soak, like really bad. Another thing too is I wrapped this silicone hose with the ouevre shield. You know, the stuff they use for starters, that's the one. You can cut it to shape, and I just stapled it to seam. There you go, see the multiple seams, and they have Velcro, so it's easy to take off. And then this is turbo design too. This coolant overflow hoses, they just sit right over the intake. How's that? So on top of this, I added some holes here to insulate it more, so that way it doesn't get hot, and it kind of works a little bit. I mean, this wasn't how it used to be, but it still goes under the hot intake manifold, and then goes to the scorching turbo. But you know, it's little things that kind of help a little bit. You know, it doesn't help much when it's sitting, but once you start getting moving, it'll get better. And of course, you can always change your intercooler, but the stock one is pretty sufficient up until, you know, like X amount of horsepower. Other than that, if you guys got any ideas, speaking of ideas, I was supposed to add some kind of active cooling fan to help cool the filter and MAF housing while sitting. So I'm gonna have this part right here, all these holes cut open, and there's gonna be a duct that goes up. I'm gonna have to make a bottom panel for this air box because it's just sitting open at the bottom. There's gonna be a fan there with a thermostatic like a wire going to a fan controller that I use for my PC, and at a certain temp range it'll kick in and kick off when temps go down. So that's something you'll see later on. But other than that, that's it. If you guys like what you see, like and subscribe, comment, whatever. See you later.